Let's have a debate about this. So I've given Steve the easy route, and Steve's going to try and explain to us in debate form why we need a centre-back in January. And I've given Jack the short straw here. He has to come up with a reason as to why we can get through this and win the league without a centre-back. I've just added in win the league there as well, just to make it harder for Jack. So, Steve, for the positive, why does Liverpool Football Club need to sign a centre-back in the January transfer window?
The caveat that I will start with is that I believe that, Michael Edwards, Jurgen Klopp have got enough credit in the bank that we should be trusting whatever they decide ultimately, right? If we had this squad with 5 or 6 really good centre-backs, like City have got with Diaz, Ake, Garcia, Laporte and Stones. If we had 5 or 6 and they were all injured and you said, right, do we get another one? You'd probably say no, because when they're all fit again, they'll be like 5th or 6th choice. The fact is that we've got 3 or possibly 2.5 when you consider how often Joel Matip's fit. To actually, at the start of the season, when they sold Lovren, we probably already needed another centre-back. We probably were already at that point before anybody even got injured. Chuck it forward, a few months. Now we definitely need one. And I'm not kind of buying the arguments about you don't get value in the January market. I think the last time we went in and spent a lot of money on a centre-back in January, it's not gone too badly, has it? So, going back, Luis Suarez came in January, I think, didn't he? Going back even further, Daniel Agger, people like that. And if you're looking at, either paying 40 million at the end of the season, say, or 60 million now for somebody, that genuinely could be the difference between winning the league and not winning the league. And I'd say that's worth a lot more than 20 million. And then chuck in on top of that, the 2 lads who are kind of filling in, Williams and Phillips, it's hardly a ringing endorsement for them, the fact that he plays Henderson at centre-back against Southampton. What are they thinking? I don't want to see Jordan Henderson playing centre-back, ever. Not that he's not good there, but we lose so much when he's not in midfield. So all those reasons, good luck to you, Jack. But I reckon it's a pretty cast-iron argument.
Yeah, I'm going to sound like a right idiot now, because the other day I was on with you on Monday Sporto, Craig, and I was like, no, we aren't winning the league without a centre-back. And now I've got to try and tell you that we'll be all right. I think, that there's been positive signs from Phillips and Reece Williams. You'd argue that our poor form of late has nothing to do with our defence, and actually the real issues lie with our forward players at the minute, and the fact that we can't, for the life of us, seem to put the ball in the back of the net. And the mistakes that we have made at the back recently seem to be more, Trent, I don't think, has been at the top of his game recently, and stuff like that. But I think Reece Williams and Nat Phillips have done all right, but at the same time, they've not really been tested yet. For me, I think a lot of Liverpool fans can look at it and go, it's not the end of the world if we don't, because hopefully, when Matip is back from injury, we can keep him fit for the rest of the season. And the same with Fabinho. And I think a lot of Liverpool fans know that when those two are together and playing, then we're absolutely fine. We're happy with those two. They both have done a good job. But I think when Matip's out injured, it makes us down to the bare bones. So it's really difficult right now to look at things and say we'll be fine moving forwards. But I think there has been positive signs. We've not seen much of young Billy Cometio yet, but I think we've got him as well as an option. Morgan Boyers is back now too. I'm really struggling here to
clutching at straws, mate.
Straws. It's very, very difficult to find reasons that we can cope without signing someone to play centre-back in January.
I think Jack made a very good point, though, Steve, and this is something I've raised with people on the show as well, is we aren't actually defensively conceding too many goals. He made a fair point. Like, we're not going out each week conceding 3-4 goals. I mean, yes, the Villa game was a bit of an anomaly, and that happens every so often, but it's more moving forward that we're causing ourselves problems. But I can also see the side of it that, as you touched on, we're losing, dropping Henderson back to centre-back. We're losing options then from midfield. Trent also hasn't been at his brilliant best. Could be because he's recovering from an illness. Could be because he's been playing too much. So there are some valid points to what Jack makes, as hard an argument as it was.
You look at what the security that having 2 really, really, really good centre-halves gives you. For those 2 fullbacks, when they're bombing on, they're not thinking behind them, there's a problem. Whereas now I imagine they're bombing on thinking, I don't know if I should be leaving, Reece Williams by himself, or I don't know if I should be leaving Nat Phillips by himself. Because Nat Phillips isn't the quickest, is he? And we saw with Reece Williams when they played West Brom.
On Nat Phillips, he was hours probably away from joining Bristol City, I think, and leaving. Yeah. So the club had not put him in their future plans whatsoever.
That kind of tells you, and it's not, it's not a criticism of him, because he's done a decent job. I just think we're not a club that needs to be penny pinching any more than we do. The powers that be are really good at kind of picking and choosing who they want. They'll wait. We saw that with Van Dijk, didn't we? With Alisson, people like that. We've seen them, bide their time until the right player comes available. I just think, we're in a real situation, where needs must. Fabinho is a really interesting one because, we'll talk later about the United game, won't we? And, Bruno Fernandes in those little pockets, who do you want sitting on top of him? It's Fabinho, isn't it? You want him, picking up those little spaces, getting the interceptions in, blocking off all the little pockets that Bruno Fernandes likes to work in. But without him, he's doing a decent job at the back, but I want him playing centre midfield again. I don't want him back there. I want our best players in the best positions they can be. And at the moment, like I say, we needed someone before all these injuries as well.
I think if we don't see a centre-back coming in January, I think it's for one reason and one reason only, and that's that they expect Van Dijk and Gomez to be back before the end of the season. For me, that Southampton game said to me, there are games this season where Klopp does not trust Reece Williams and Nat Phillips. And simply to me, that is because of the pace reason. We said how Nat Phillips isn't the fastest, and I don't think Reece Williams has been stretched enough to test his pace at the moment, but I don't think he's that fast either from what I've seen. And therefore, I think there's enough there to say, right, if Gomez and Van Dijk are out for the rest of the season, it's very unlikely we'll see them. We will definitely sign someone. And I think this whole COVID thing and stuff like that is to make sure the clubs aren't thinking, right, they're desperate for a centre-back. We're going to put this much tax on our player because we know Liverpool will pay us over the odds for someone because they're that desperate for someone this month. I cannot see it because, look, we are pushing for a title. I don't care if we got here with what we've got now. Van Dijk's missed a lot of the season already, so is Gomez. We are pushing for the title. And as we get closer and closer to picking up that title, things are going to get harder. There's going to be Reece Williams and Nat Phillips are going to be pushed to the test. They've never been in this situation before as a player. It's going to be incredibly difficult to go to that point in the season with the title race as close as it seems like it's going to be at this point in time with who we've got at the minute. So for me, I know I'm on the argument of we don't need to sign a centre-back in January. Quite simply, I cannot see a situation where we don't sign someone in January unless Van Dijk and Gomez are looking good and looking like they're going to be back sooner than we thought.
I'm pretty confident that we're not going to sign anyone unless anything, Leipzig phone up and say, can I have Upamecano for £5 million? Unless that kind of thing happens, I just don't think they're going to sign anyone because I think they've got it in their mind they don't need anyone, and that's certainly what I was told a few weeks back by a friend who has some pretty good sources, and I was told, yeah, they're not going to sign anyone and there's no intention. That doesn't mean they're not looking because, a club like Liverpool, they're always, I imagine the scouts are always out there. They're always looking. They've always got kind of irons in the fire that if a certain player becomes available, they'd go for it. But I just don't think it's going to happen. And it makes me quite disappointed. But like I said at the start, they've earned our trust, I think, and they've got enough credit in the bank. They've made enough good decisions over the last few years that we sort of need to stick with them and sort of trust they've got this situation in hand.
There's a few points there I wanted to touch on. And firstly, I want to ask you guys an honest question because I've had to put my hands up and say that when we didn't replace Dejan Lovren in the summer, I honestly thought it was a calculated risk and one worth taking because nobody could have predicted, and people will say, look, it's their job to predict this, but who could have predicted that we would lose Joe Gomez and Virgil van Dijk to injuries that will keep them out for the majority of the season? And then we know about John Matchup. Steve raised a fair point. We know his injury record. Nobody doubts the man's quality when he's on the pitch. But hand on heart, Steve, I'll come to you first. In the summer, did you think in the summer we need to sign a centre-back, or did you think it was a gamble worth taking perhaps from Klopp and Michael Edwards?
Oh, no, I definitely thought we needed another one. I mean, I imagine Lovren, what was he, 31 when he left? I think he was 31, 32. He's probably thinking, I need another couple of years of playing. He didn't play that much, did he? But yeah, I definitely did. I thought maybe there was a scope to bring in another, like a younger one. That was the opportunity. There were 3 kind of senior ones ahead. It might have been an opportunity to bring in a younger one that maybe wouldn't play for the first few months, maybe for the first half of the season. And I still think that's kind of where they could either be in one or two places, couldn't they? They could either go for a younger one now, or what I thought they might do is go for a Clavan type 30, 31-year-old stopgap. It just might get them to the end of the season. The funny thing is, if you were looking for one of them, you'd probably look at Dejan Lovren, wouldn't you? He's that kind of player. In a word, I'd have liked them to get another one in the summer, but obviously that didn't happen.
For me, I thought straight from the off, I thought it was Thiago or a centre-back. And, you know, as the person I am, I wanted Thiago. I thought it was very unlikely, as you said, Craig. We know Matip and Joe Gomez's injury history, but the chances of two centre-backs being out for the season is so rare and so slim. It looks very unlikely. And I thought, you know, we would probably see the odd game with Fabinho at centre-back, or obviously Billy the Kid was looking really good in pre-season. I thought he might get a couple of opportunities. I didn't see Reece Williams and Nat Phillips being the two centre-backs that we'd see having a lot of opportunities. I didn't see that coming at all. We're in the situation we are now, and there's no point looking back and thinking about hindsight. But for me, now you're looking at the situation as it is. We've got Gomez and Van Dijk out for the season, and we've come up to a point in time where we have to think fast, and we're pushing for a title here. And this is a make or break decision. This could be one that puts us level with Manchester United, or realistically what we're looking at the minute is losing the title to Manchester United, who could then extend, you know, go even further ahead again and be another title ahead of us. Yeah, I personally think with the size of Manchester City squad and how good that looks, and the fact they've sorted out their defence, I think if we don't act quick and sign a centre-back, we're really risking it with them now not too far behind us.
The reason we signed Virgil van Dijk, you know, the reason we went really big on him was because they know that you don't win titles without a rock solid defense. And now we're leaving ourselves in a situation where you take what you're saying. You know, the problems at the moment aren't necessarily to do with the defence, but I think it's a cumulative problem, isn't it? It's not just one area. Ultimately, I would love to be wrong, and I don't want to be the kind of doom and gloom merchant here, but I struggle to kind of see us winning the title if we don't get a centre half in.
I absolutely agree with you, Steve. Like, I do not think we can. In recent weeks before this, I was thinking, yeah, absolutely, we're looking good. Look how far ahead we are at the top. But recent form shown me that it's a lot closer than we thought. And yes, the problems aren't solely the defence, and it's more going forwards right now. You know, we're down to the bare bones, and we're a Fabinho injury or 2 weeks off of COVID away from having a meltdown, because we'll be down to the bare bones. I can't trust Matip to stay fit from now till the end of the season. It's not looking likely that we'll win the title if we don't sign a centre-back, in my opinion. So, but at the same time, I trust Klopp and I trust Michael Edwards, and I trust the process, but it's very hard to be positive about the situation in the current state we're in.